Hey, Steve Mignonti here doing the muscle car crawl at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts. And we're looking at a 1965 GT350 Mustang, a real one. You know, uninitiated folks might say that, yeah, it's just a Mustang 2+2 with some blue stripes and, you know, white paint, right? Well, not so fast. There's a lot underneath these. Now, a moment ago, we did a video on the drivetrain upgrades, engine, tranny, rear axle, exhaust system that made a GT350 different from a K-Code 289 Mustang. Well, the suspension is also quite different. Now, of course, all Shelby Mustangs and K-Codes came with disc brakes. These are Kelsey Hayes front disc brakes. These actually were very revolutionary. 1965 was the first year that Ford offered disc brakes on passenger cars. And these were cutting edge stuff. Unlike a drum, which traps heat and causes fade, well, the disc brake was the revolution. Now, these have a cast iron 4-piston design. And yeah, unlike today's, aluminum pistons and carbon fiber and carbon ceramic, these are pure iron. But that's okay. In the day, these were far better than any drum brake. Now, another thing that was done on all 562 of the GT350s was the upper control arm anchor point was actually raised 1 inch on each side. That did two things. It increased the car's roll radius and also lowered the center of gravity. We also see the orange shock absorber front and rear. Those are Konis, a very exotic and expensive shock absorber of the time, seen only on GT350s. Also, the front steering had the Ford fast ratio steering box, which we see up here. But additionally, the steering arm and the idler arm over on this side here are actually longer. This thing right here, what this does is it increases the speed of the steering and also increases the turn radius. Believe it or not, GT350s, the front tires, turn in a tighter radius than do non-Shelby Mustangs. And that's a function of those extra long steering box and idler arm lengths, again, specific to the GT350. Moving further under the car, the suspension upgrades that we see on this one has been day 2'd a little bit. The lower control arm has been webbed. If we look right here on the bottom, down underneath right here, we'll see that this metal web has been welded in. That's something that was done like a day 2 thing, not factory, but again, not a bad idea to do. But that's not factory, but still, these cars often were road raced by owners along the way. And this one, again, is a nice restoration, very pure car. Now, the rear suspension on the GT350s was also full of surprises. Additionally, you'll see the orange Koni shock absorbers here. Now, these are built without internal limiting devices, so these are capable of pulling themselves apart if the rear axle hangs too low. So Shelby fixed that problem by installing these quickie metal cables. These steel cables are right here, which prevent the axle from dropping far enough to harm the Koni shock. And that's factory Shelby stuff right there. Pretty crazy. You can see the little eyelet. They drill a hole, put the eyelet in, and just use a crimper. And this is factory Shelby stuff right here. Now, these also have heavy-duty Mustang K-Code rear leaf springs. They're 4-leaf on each side. They're pretty rigid, but to get rid of any trace of axle hop, Shelby added these traction bars. We see right here, this tower is welded to the top. This bar goes up inside of the floor, and believe it or not, they actually hogged out a hole. You can kind of see that right there. They chopped a hole inside the floor pan, and they welded in a tower inside the car, which accepts the other end of this traction bar or this radius rod. And to seal it off, the rubber boot that we see inside of here, that's actually from the Ford C600 cab over family. That's where a shifter would have gone through the floor on the cab over Ford truck. So again, the Ford parts bin was rated liberally to bring the Shelby GT350 to fruition. Rear drum brakes on this are a little bit wider. These are 10 inches, a little bit bigger than the standard drums found on a standard Mustang. So that's the story of the front and rear suspensions on the 65 GT350. Now, for 1966, Shelby decontented the GT350 quite a bit. Now, production went way up, but again, the drivability issues were complained, actually. The Detroit locker went away for 1966, 65 we got them, and the traction arms in 1966 on most cars were deleted. So again, 65 is the first year for the GT350, and to most people, it's the purest. So there's a lot more to a 65 GT350 than Le Mans racing stripes, a lot more. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Mignonti YouTube channel.